Hi guys, I hope you enjoyed chapter 5 this morning with Miss Radcliffe. I am now going to read you chapter 6. So, chapter 6. As soon as Anna was strong enough, they moved out of their expensive hotel. Papa and Max had found an inn in one of the villages on the lake. It was called Gastroff Zern, after Herr Zern who owned it, and stood very near the landing stage, with a cobbled courtyard and a garden running down the lake. People mostly came there to eat and drink, but Herr Zern also had a few rooms to let, and they were very cheap. Mama and Papa shared one room and Anna and Max another, so that it would still be cheaper. Downstairs there was a large, comfortable dining room decorated with deer's antlers and bits of elderwiz. But when the weather became warmer, tables and chairs appeared in the garden, and Frau Zern served everybody's meals under the chestnut trees overlooking the water. Anna thought it was lovely. At weekends, musicians came from the village and often played till late at night. You could listen to the music and watch the sparkle of the water through the leaves and the steamers gliding past. At dusk, Herr Zern pressed a switch and little lights came on in the trees so that you could still see what you were eating. The steamers lit coloured lanterns to make themselves visible to another craft. Some were amber, but the prettiest were deep, brilliant, purpley blue. Whenever Anna saw one of these magical blue lights against the darker blue sky and more dimmingly reflected in the dark lake, she felt as though she had been given a small present. The Zerns had 3 children who ran about barefoot, and, as Anna's legs began to feel less like cotton wool, she and Max went with them to explore the country around about. There were woods and streams and waterfalls, roads lined with apple trees and wild flowers everywhere. Sometimes Mama came with them rather than stay alone in the inn. Papa went to Zurich almost every day to talk to the editors of the Swiss newspapers. The Zern children, like everybody else living in the village, spoke a Swiss dialect, which Anna and Max first found hard to understand. But they soon learned, and the eldest, Franz, was able to teach Max how to fish. Only Max never caught anything, while his sister Vanelli showed Anna the local version of hopscotch. In this pleasant atmosphere, Anna soon recovered her strength, and one day Mama announced that it was time for her and Max to start school again. Max would go to the boys' high school in Zurich. He would travel by train, which was not as nice as the steamer, but much quicker. Anna would go to the village school with the Zern children, and she and Vanelli were roughly the same age, so they would be in the same class. "You will be my best friend," said Vanelli. She had very long, very thin, mousy-coloured plaits and a worried expression. Anna was not absolutely sure that she wanted to be Vanelli's friend, but thought it would be ungrateful to say so. On Monday morning they set off together, Vanelli barefoot and carrying her shoes in her hand. As they approached school, they met other children, most of them also carrying their shoes. Vanelli introduced Anna to some of the girls, but the boys stayed on the other side of the road and stared across at them without speaking. Soon after, they had reached the school playground and the teacher rang a bell, and there was a mad scramble by everyone who had to put their shoes on. It was school rule that shoes must be worn, but most children left them off until the last possible minute. Anna's teacher was called Herr Grob. He was quite old with a greyish-yellowish beard, and everyone was in much awe of him. He assigned Anna a place next to a cheerful, fair-haired girl called Rosalie. And as Anna walked down the central aisle of the classroom to her desk, there was a general gasp. "What's the matter?" Anna whispered, as soon as Herr Grob's back was turned. "You walk down the centre aisle," Rosalie whispered back. "Only the boys walk down the centre aisle." "So where do the girls go?" "Round the sides." It seemed a strange arrangement, but Herr Grob had begun to chalk up sums on the blackboard, so there was no time to go into it. The sums were very easy and Anna got them done quickly. Then she took a look around the classroom. The boys were all sitting in the 2 rows on one side and the girls on the other. It was quite different from the school that she had gone to in Berlin, where they had all been mixed up. When Herr Grupp called for the books to be handed in, Vanelli got up to collect the girls, while a big red-headed boy collected the boys. The red-haired boy walked up the middle of the classroom where Vanelli walked round the side until they met, each with a pile of books in front of Herr Grupp's desk. Even there, they were careful not to look at each other, but Anna noticed that Vanelli had turned a very faint shade of pink under her mouse-coloured hair. At break time, the boys played football and horsed about on one side of the playground, while the girls played hopscotch or sat separately gossiping on the other side. But though the girls pretended to take no notice of the boys, they spent a lot of time watching them under their carefully lowered lids. And when Vanelli and Anna walked home for lunch, Vanelli became so interested in the antics of the red-haired boy on the opposite side of the road that she nearly walked into a tree. They went back for an hour's singing in the afternoon, and then school finished for the day. "How do you like it?" Mama asked Anna when she got back at 3 o'clock. "It's very interesting," said Anna, "but it's funny. The girls and the boys don't talk to each other, and I don't know if I'm going to learn very much." When Herr Grupp had corrected the sums, he had made several mistakes and his spelling had not been too good either. "Well, it doesn't matter if you don't," said Mama. "It won't hurt you to have a bit of a rest after your illness." "I like the singing," said Anna. "They can all yodel, and they're going to teach me how to do it too." "God forbid," said Mama, and immediately dropped her stitch. Mama was learning to knit. She had never done it before, but Anna needed a new sweater and Mama was trying to save money. She had bought some wool and some knitting needles, and Frau Zern had shown her how to use them. But somehow Mama never quite got it right. Where Frau Zern sat, clicking the needles lightly with her fingers, Mama knitted straight from the shoulder. Each time she pushed the needle into the wool, it would feel like an attack. Each time she brought it out, she pulled the stitch so tight that it almost broke. As a result, the sweater only grew slowly and looked more like heavy tweed than knitting. "I've never seen work like it," said Frau Zern, astonished when she saw it, "but it'll be lovely and warm when it's done." One Sunday morning, soon after Anna and Max had started school, they saw a familiar figure get off the steamer and walk up the landing stage. It was Uncle Julius. He looked thinner than Anna remembered, and it was wonderful yet somehow confusing to see him, as though a bit of their house from Berlin had suddenly appeared by the edge of the lake. "Julius!" cried Papa in delight when he saw him. "What on earth are you doing here?" Uncle Julius gave a little wry smile and said, "Well, officially I'm not here at all. Do you know that nowadays it's considered very unwise even to visit you?" He had been into the Naturalists' Congress in Italy and had left a day early in order to come and see them on his way back from Berlin. "I am honoured and grateful," said Papa. "The Nazis certainly are very stupid," said Uncle Julius. "How could you possibly be an enemy of Germany? You know, of course, that they burnt all your books." "I was in very good company," said Papa. "What books?" asked Anna. "I thought the Nazis had just taken our things. I didn't know they burnt them." "These were not books your father owned," said Uncle Julius. "These were books that he had written. The Nazis lit big bonfires all over the country and threw all the copies they could find and burnt them." "Along with the works of various other distinguished authors," said Papa, "such as Einstein, Freud, H.G. Wells." Uncle Julius shook his head at the madness of it all. "Thank heavens you didn't take my advice," he said. "Thank heavens you left when you did. But of course," he added, "this situation in Germany can't go on much longer." Over lunch in the garden he told them the news. Heimpe had found a job with another family. It had been very difficult. because the people heard that she once worked for Papa, they did not want to employ her. But it was not a bad job considering. Their house was still empty, nobody had bought it yet. It was very strange, thought Anna, that Uncle Julius could go and look at it any time he liked. He could walk down the street from the paper shop at the corner and stand outside the white painted gates. The shutters would be closed, but if he had the key, Uncle Julius would be able to go through the front door into the dark hall, up the stairs to the nursery, or across into the drawing room, or along the passage to Hindpea's pantry. Anna remembered it all so clearly, and in her mind she walked right through the house from the top to bottom while Uncle Julius went on talking to Mama and Papa. "How are things with you?" he asked. "Are you able to write here?" Papa raised an eyebrow. "I have no difficulty in writing," he said, "only in getting the work published." "Impossible," said Uncle Julius. "Unfortunately not," said Papa. "It seems the Swiss are so anxious to protect their neutrality that they are frightened in publishing anything by an avowed anti-Nazi like myself." Uncle Julius looked shocked. "Oh, are you all right?" he said. "I mean, financially." "We managed," said Papa. "Anyway, I'm trying to make them change their mind." Then they began to talk about mutual friends. It sounded as though they were going through a long list of names. Somebody had been arrested by the Nazis, somebody else had escaped by going to America, another person had compromised. What was compromised, wondered Anna, and had written an article in praise of the new regime. The list went on and on. All grown-up conversations were like this nowadays, thought Anna, while little waves lapped against the edge of the lake and bees buzzed in the chestnut trees. In the afternoon they showed Uncle Julius around. Anna and Max took him up into the woods, and he was very interested to discover a special kind of toad that he'd never seen before. Later they all went for a row on the lake in a hired boat. Then they had supper together, and at last it was time for Uncle Julius to leave. "I miss our outings to the zoo," he said as he kissed Anna. "So do I," said Anna. "I like the monkeys best." "I'll send you a picture of one," said Uncle Julius. They walked down the landing stage together. While they were waiting for the steamer, Papa said suddenly, "Julius, don't go back. Stay here with us. You won't be safe in Germany." "What? Me?" said Uncle Julius in his high voice. "No, who's going to bother about me? I'm only interested in animals. I'm not political. I'm not even Jewish, unless you count my poor old grandmother." "Julius, you don't understand," said Papa. "The situation is bound to change," said Uncle Julius, and there was a steamer puffing towards them. "Goodbye, old friend," and he embraced Papa and Mama and both children. As he walked across the gangplank, he turned back for a moment. "Anyway," he said, "the monkeys at the zoo would miss me."